Hey guys, it's Mrs. Bryant. Welcome back to Flip Video. Before you play the video in its entirety, please press pause and make sure you have the notes that I gave you in class today. Once you are ready to work, you can go ahead and press play and we can begin tonight's video. So, to begin things, we talked about three types of slope. We have a positive slope, we have a negative slope, and we have a zero slope. Now, I told y'all in class that the very first thing you need to do when asked about slope given a graph is to see what type of slope it is, so that way you can get rid of some answer choices. You need to know these three types of slope by memory. But let's go ahead and start finding slope given a graph. So our first example says, determine the slope of the line that passes through the point 0, 1 and 1, 4 by plotting the points, graphing the line, and then finding the slope. So we're going to plot this point, 0, 1. So I'm not going to go left or right, but I am going to go up 1. And there is my point. Then I have 1, 4, so I'm going to go over to the right 1 and up 4 because they're both positive. Once that is done, I can connect my dots. And your line doesn't have to be straight because we're going to actually use the dots that are on the graph. Now, to find slope, we know that it is rise over run. So rise over run. So let's rise. We're going to rise from this dot to this dot. So that's 1, 2, 3 because our scale is going by 1. So plus 3. And now we're going to run, which is plus 1. So our rise was 3 over 1. So that equals 3. M is another way to say slope. So let's look at the bottom. The line, blank, from left to right, therefore the slope of the line is, okay, so the line goes up from left to right, so the slope of the line is positive. So it wants to know what another point that would also fall on the same line. So to do that, choose any of the points that you had and just do the exact same thing we did. So you're going to rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 1. So plus 3 plus 1. So another point, I told you I cannot draw straight lines, would be 2, 7. So to do that, you just continue the pattern. All right, next example. Determine the slope of the line that passes through 3, negative 3, and 7, negative 5 by plotting the points, graphing the line, and finding the slope. We still know that it's rise over run. Same thing as saying M or slope. So let's plot the points. I'm going to go to the right 3 and down 3. That's my first point. And then I'm going to go to the right 7 and down 5. And put my point. I cannot draw straight lines, but do the best you can. So let's talk about our rise. Does it matter which point you start with? It does not matter which point you start with. I always start with the leftmost just because it's how we read in America. But before we find the slope, I told y'all to make sure you pay attention to the direction the line is going. So this line is going down from left to right, therefore the slope of the line is negative. And now that we know that, we can do our rise over run. So our rise, 1, 2, but because we're going down, it's going to be negative. If we were going up, it would be positive, to the right would be positive, and to the left is negative when you're talking about movement. So it's going to be minus 2. And now let's talk about our run. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to be plus 4 because we moved to the right. So we have negative 2 over 4, so that simplifies to negative 1/2. And it says, again, what is another point that would also fall on the same line? So you just do exactly the same thing we just did. choose one of the points, and continue the pattern. Now, if I chose this point right here, I would not be able to continue the pattern. So I have to choose this point, but think in opposites. If I went down 2, I'm going to have to go up 2. Plus 2. Because we're going to the left, our line is moving to the left, we need to be opposite. And then our run would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to be a negative 4. Because once you simplify 2 over negative 4, it's still negative 1/2. And we will practice more of this in person, but because we're going to the opposite direction of this point than we normally read graphs, you're doing the opposite. As long as your point and your rise and run come up with the same slope, you should be good. So this point is negative 1, comma, negative 1. Next example, determine the slope of the line that passes through negative 1, 3 and 1, 3 by plotting the points, graphing the line, and then finding the slope. So negative 1, comma, 3 would be right here. 1, comma, 3 would be right here. You will notice that this line is a horizontal line. So the 0 is the numerator of a fraction. When 0 is the numerator of the fraction, the value is 0. This means that the slope of any horizontal line is 0, and we talked about that. So let's figure out our slope. Rise over run. So our rise is 0, and our run would be 1, 2, 3. 0 over anything is going to equal 0. What is another point? You can choose any x as long as your y is 3. So I'm going to choose 4, comma, 3. Because you see right here it falls on the same line. Alright, so now we're going to find slope without having to plot the points. We just got to be able to read a graph. So it says slope equals rise over run. So just choose 2 points. I'm going to choose this point and this point. I always choose one that is on the y-axis if possible. So let's do my rise. So our rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so plus 6, over my run, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So over plus 4 because we're going to the right. 6 divided by 4 can be simplified, so divide each by 2. And you're going to want to leave it as a fraction when we're talking about slope. So our slope is 3/2. Find the slope of the line. Automatically, we know that it's 0 because it's a horizontal line. But let's talk about it. Our rise from this point to this point is 0, and our run would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 over 4 is 0. Find the slope of the line. Now, your points aren't given to you, so this is where you have to come up with your own points. Like I said, I like using points that are on the y-axis. And then your second point has to be where the 2 lines of the grid intersect. And that could be there, there's another one there, and another one there. But I'm going to use those 2. So my rise is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, so plus 4. And then my run is plus 1. So our answer is 4. And our slope is positive. And it matches the graph because it's going up from left to right. That's how you can check yourself. Find the slope of the line. Well, we know our slope has to be what? Slope is negative. So choose 2 points. I'm going to choose this one and this one. So my rise, 1, 2, 3. My rise is plus 3. And my run is going to be 1, 2, 3. Negative 3. So 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. And because our slope in the graph is negative, our answer here must be negative. Find the slope of the line. Here's a point, here's a point. It doesn't matter which points you use. I just choose random points and go from there. So our rise, 1, 2, 3. Before we finish, this is going to be a positive slope, right? So I have positive 3 in my run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So plus 6. So when simplified, our answer is positive 1/2. Positive, positive, we know it checks out. Find the slope. Automatically, I know it's going to be a negative slope because it's going down from left to right. So now I need to choose 2 points. I choose on the y-axis if possible. And because we have an x-axis point also, I'm going to use those 2 points. So let's do our rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So minus 6. Now our run is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Positive 8. Simplified, because they can both be divided by 2, we have negative 3 over 4. So negative slope, we know we're correct. That's it for the video tonight. Make sure this paper is glued into your ISN and that you have completed the survey. If you have any questions, make sure to call, text, or email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great evening.